happening now. Not that. And Rene Gia, who's been out there handing the form, he was my last grad student. His PhD was going back to behavioral quartz, but his MS was a beautiful study on reagents on the flotation of coal. What about the future? Fine particles are going to be involved in ore processing, in processing for energy minerals. Jim Hansen, who's here, has been involved with tar sands in Canada, which leaves tailings are particles. You read about oil shale. You can imagine the amount of fine particles that you would produce if you ground the oil shale. It's very simple. You can grind and recover the oil shale, but imagine the tonnage of particles. And I remember giving a paper, I'll sit down in about a minute. I remember giving a paper
keep going.
To the Geological Society of America in Reno, and I made a comment that somebody, and it turns out he was in the audience, an elderly professor from Yale who for about 30 years had edited the Economic Geology magazine, as I understand it. Anyway, he commented that someday that the source of copper would probably be granite. Now, imagine if you crushed and ground granite to recover the copper, how many mountains of tailings you would have, right? You'd be starting the world over again. Finally, today, particles really are in the press all the time over nanoparticles. I mean, the world all over is working on nanoparticles. I don't know what all those students are going to do, what kind of jobs they're going to find when they graduate, if you want my personal opinion. But in the case of nanoparticles, you've got to learn how to do it more than just in the laboratory and in a batch way. How is it going to be done in a production way? But probably one of the most important things is learning more about toxicity, etc., of these sorts of particles. And I think what I understand just from reading it, it's mostly lip service at this stage yet on studying nanoparticle toxicity. But I suppose if I were younger and still at it, I would probably be right in the midst of nanoparticles. I'd like to show just two more pictures of the ones I've shown were mentors and all older than I am. And I'll show you one, just the next one here. It's there, I see. There. This was taken of our high-pressure laboratory roll mill, which I've given to Rajamani in Utah. I don't know, Raj, if you got it set up yet. Last time you said it was not quite there. But that's Klaus Scherner, and the mill was built in their machine shops in his university, but all the rest we built. And the thing about these high-pressure roll mills is it grinds at about taking 20–30% less energy than it does in a ball mill. In the U.S. it was something like 1.5% of all of the electrical energies for crushing and grinding rocks, ores, cement. Worldwide, the estimate's something like 3%. And so increasing the efficiency by 3–4%, I mean 20–30% is astounding. We did a great deal of work of combining this with ball milling, and Ashok Day, who's sitting here, was one of the person who did a lot of that on grinding coal. And we found reductions of 20–30%, and now just in 2007 in Cerro Verde in Peru, 125,000 ton a day mill has 4 high pressure roll mills. If I remember, there's something like, John, what, 3 meters diameter and 2 meters wide. I mean, monsters. And then they take that and then they grind that product in the ball mill, and their savings turn out to be identical virtually to what we found in these lab mills. Now, whether or not the Phelps Dodge people read our papers, I don't know, but I was very delighted to see that what they have found in this huge plant. Now, you can imagine saving that much energy at that size operation, how valuable that is. Whoops. One last slide. When I was on the Home State Mining Company board for several years, and they sent me one time to Australia to visit Argyle diamond mines. They were looking at Argyle, not owned by Rio Tinto, then it was CRA, I think it was called. They mined 35,000 tons of diamond ore a day. It's a huge operation. 7% of their diamonds are gems, so a lot of it's industrial. And they had one high-pressure roll mill, and they were just finishing installation of a second one, and Homestake was looking at would they put a high-pressure roll mill in on their gold operation in Kalgoorlie. Anyway, if you have something, an ore that is like limestone or a little bit soft, it comes out as a cake. And this is a cake out of Argyle Diamond Mine. I still have that cake. Now, should I put it in water and see if there's a diamond in there, or is it about the same probability as it would be of winning the lottery? I have the cake still on the shelf at home, but inside that cake is there a diamond. Anyway, thank you very much.